the Harley-Davidson Pan America, and we're a little bit late to the party and there's lots of great videos out there already, but we're going to give you our take on this massive, powerful adventure bike.
Big thank you to Sycamore Harley-Davidson in Uppingham, Rutland for lending us this Pan America Special today. If you're interested in this bike or you want to know more about it, get in touch with the sales guys at Sycamore. They're sure to be helping you out.
As you will know if you regularly watch our channel, we absolutely love adventure bikes. But we're going to give you our take on this bike on and off-road and tell you exactly what it's like to ride, and we're not going to go into massive detail about the modes and the different settings and the menus and sub-menus and the various things it does, because it's a very complex, advanced electronically bike. So it's more about the ride and how it feels and how it goes than it is about all the technology. In this video, we're going to reveal two features that this adventure bike has and some of the other larger adventure bikes also have, but they're never talked about. So make sure you watch the whole video to find out what they are.
So the 1250cc liquid-cooled V-twin that's in this Pan America produces 128 newton meters of torque at 6,750 RPM and 150 horsepower at 8,750 RPM, which is pretty impressive. And the peak RPM of this bike is 9,500 RPM, which is unheard of something from Harley-Davidson. They're normally very low down, don't rev above 5.5. But this is very revvy compared to that, and if you're sitting at 70 miles an hour on the motorway, for example, it's only doing about 4,000 RPM, so you've still got plenty left, and that's the perfect sort of RPM for a long motorway cruise. It's not revving the nuts off of it. Yes, I've got an iPhone 12 at the moment.
But I have a wonderful deal for you, sir.
What's the deal?
Please tell me.
What's the deal?
Sorry?
What deal have you got on at the moment? I'd really like to know.
I will provide you.
Is it for free?
Now, to be honest with you, I wasn't expecting that I was going to like this bike at all. And when I started up and set off, I very soon was pleasantly surprised. As a road bike, it really is very good. It's very powerful, very fast. The different modes change the characteristics quite a bit. So you've got the rain mode, which is very numbed down and very gentle. In sport mode, it flies. It's got more horsepower than the Honda CB1000R, which we rode recently. So make sure you see that review, it's very interesting. It's very, very powerful and very, very fast, but it's not snappy and it doesn't feel at all dangerous. So all that power is usable. And it's a superb road bike.
So this bike's got many different modes. It's got sport, road, rain, off-road and off-road plus. And then it's also got 3 user configurable modes. So you can choose how you want your bike to feel depending on what sort of riding you're doing and adapt it to exactly your needs. So that's a very handy thing to have. And all these different modes make this bike very good in different purposes, so you can completely change the characteristics of the bike from on the road to off the road, which is a very good feature. Now on a whole, we don't normally like modes on motorcycles because you get used to it in one mode, and then when you change it, the bike can be completely different. But this is not too snappy in any mode, even though it's got 150 horsepower. So it's not going to rip your head off if you suddenly change from rain to sport. And it's good to have an off-road mode, because if you had 150 horsepower off-road, this bike would be lethal. So it's a very essential thing to have on this bike.
Off-road, like all adventure bikes, it's very heavy. So it's not going to be like an enduro bike, like a dual sport or a trail bike. So if you want to go off-road and that's your main thing and you do it a lot, you want a much lighter weight bike. Have a look at our Honda CRF 300L review. That's really good off-road, but only like 26 horsepower or so. This has got 150 horsepower. Obviously in off-road mode it won't be giving you 150 horsepower, but riding off-road in the off-road mode, it's surprisingly good. It's not too snappy at all, so you can go along the sort of fire trails, as they call them in the USA, or the byways as we call them here. So for sort of gravelly roads and moderate bumps, it's perfectly fine. And it's designed for long distances, and if you've got long distances off-road in unmade roads, it's perfectly fine for that. But it's no motocross bike, so don't expect it to be, but the people that buy these sort of bikes aren't expecting it to be, so you'd be very pleasantly surprised at its off-road ability.
So your first service on this bike would be after 1,000 miles, and then after that it's every 5,000 miles or once a year, whichever comes first.
So riding along normally off-road is perfectly fine. The weight becomes the problem when you sort of want to spin it round and turn round. Once you lean it over, it starts to become a very heavy motorcycle. The traction control kicks in, it starts flashing lights. The tyres are pretty hopeless in the grass, so you would need knobbly tyres if you're going to go off-road a lot. But for the easy stuff, for the light stuff, you'll find it's perfectly all right.
The base Pan America weighs 245 kilograms. That's a wet weight, so all your fuel and oil and every other liquid that's in it. And the Special, which is what we've got here, is 258 kilograms wet weight. And if you compare that to a BMW 1250 GS, which is a very direct competitor to this bike, that's 268 kilograms. So this is lighter, and I think I know which bike I'd go for.
This does have two unique modes that the larger adventure bikes have. Now, when you drop this bike off-road, which you will do if you're riding in slippery conditions and grass and mud, there's a little switch here. You switch it that way and it gives you a full body workout. So you can do a half-hour full body workout with this bike, and the workout ends when the bike's back upright again. So that's a great feature. It saves a lot on gym membership. The other feature, if you flick the switch this way, is an anti-theft device. So when you drop the bike, you can just leave it. You can walk away, go off with a friend, come back later, come back the next day, come back a week later, or even a month later, and the bike will still be there because nobody can pick it up.
You've got a 21.2 litre fuel tank, which is pretty large, and with a full tank you'll get just over 200 miles, so that's pretty decent. And you'll get 43 miles per gallon official figures. That's the same as all the Harley Softails, so no difference there. Now this bike has got the adaptive ride height option, and on the lower setting it's 32.7 inches seat height, and on the higher setting it's 33.4. But we've also got the pad on the highest configurable setting. You can lower that down slightly as well. So you've got a lot of adaptability there, but you probably wouldn't want to be too short if you're riding this bike. I'm 6'1", and even you can see I'm pretty much on my tiptoes, and that's on the higher setting. Once you start it up, it goes down into the lower setting. So if you are a little bit shorter, definitely start the bike on the stand and then get on it, because then you're not going to be falling over because you're on your tiptoes. old man doesn't like the foot peg position on the Pan America. He thinks they're a bit too far back. I think they're perfectly fine, so it really is personal preference with that sort of thing. The Special, which we've got here, has semi-active suspension, tyre pressure monitoring, a centre stand, which is very handy if you're on a slope, because it will fall over if it's on a slope. Multi-position rear brake, which is good if you've got big chunky boots. Brush guard, aluminium skid plate on the bottom. You've got a Daymaker headlamp, which is great at night. And you've also got heated grips, wind deflector, and a steering damper.
The rake on this bike is 25 degrees, the trail is 108 millimeters, and the wheelbase is 1580 millimeters. And those sort of dimensions are very similar to what you get on a naked sort of sports bike. So my impression of it before I rode it would be that it's going to be very sharp steering and probably not ideal off-road. Now, it is a very good sharp steering bike, but not twitchy, which is great. Off-road, you probably would do with more stability if you were really hammering it. But it's quite manoeuvrable. The turning circle isn't amazing, but it's good enough so you can switch around in one or two shunts.
The base model of the Pan America starts at £14,000 in the UK, and that's in black. And then you've got the Special, which we've got here, that starts at £15,500 in black. And then you've got some other colours, you've got grey and you've got Deadwood green, which we've got here, that's an extra £250. And then you've got this orange and white colour, which is an extra £450. The adaptive ride height, which we've also got on this model, is £600. And then you've also got the laced wheel option, which a lot of you will be happy to have as it's got tubeless tyres. That's an extra £400, so I'm sure a lot of you would want to opt for that. One thing to watch out for with this screen, and this is the same with lots of other adventure bikes, if you're leaning over the bars off-road and you come to a big bump and you come off balance a bit, you don't want to be hitting your head or neck on this because it might slice it off. It probably won't, but it'll probably break before then, but it still hurt you considerably. Now the Revolution Max engine, it doesn't give you that traditional Harley sound, it's not supposed to, it's a liquid cooled V-twin. I think with a nice end can, you can get the Screaming Eagle end cans. I'd like to hear what they sound like. This would probably sound fantastic. I'd like to see it in some future models. It's rumoured that it might be in the, I'm sure lots of you have seen the 1250 Custom. It could be the replacement to the Sportster, who knows. That would be interesting. But one thing with this engine is when you're trundling along off-road in first gear, it does get very hot. So you do need to be careful of that. You don't want to burn your legs on it or singe your trousers on the exhaust pipe. So do be very careful with that.
What I did like about it, when you're riding along from the sitting position, it feels fairly narrow, so some adventure bikes are ever so wide, so that's a good thing. And compared to the Honda Africa Twin, the Africa Twin is more of an off-road bike than this is. On-road, they're kind of parallel, I'd say. This is more powerful and faster, so it depends on the sort of bike you want. It's horses for courses, as they say. But this is a superb bike, actually, and I've come away feeling happy about it when I was thinking I was going to say, oh, I don't like it at all, but no, it's good.
Now this Pan America isn't what you traditionally expect from Harley-Davidson, and it's definitely going to appeal to a new sort of rider or someone who wants it as a second bike. You probably have a Softail as well. You probably wouldn't want to see this engine in a Softail, but I would be interested to see what they come up with, maybe with a Sportster replacement to make it a little bit more sporty and sort of be in between a sports bike and a Harley, still giving you a bit of Harley essence, but a lot more speed. That'd be very interesting to see. seat and the rear seat on the Pan America are very comfortable, so on long journeys you're not going to have a sore bottom. You've also got grab rails for the rear passenger, and there's many different luggage options for this bike. You can get a top box, you can get side boxes, you can also get a sort of luggage thing on the tank there. There's so many different options, and there's lots of aftermarket, well, Harley parts that you can get for it, especially that Screaming Eagle end can. I'd love to hear what that sounds like. Let us know in the comments section below what you think of the Pan America, and if you've given it a test ride, let us know what you thought of it. It'd be really interesting to get some other riders' opinions. And if you've got another adventure bike, would you consider trading that in for this? I know I would.
You've got this typical scooped out seat, like all adventure bikes have, which limits you moving backwards and forward on the bike. This is on the highest setting, the seat comes down a bit, and obviously you've got the suspension which can go up and down depending if you've chosen that option.
Now, if you like this bike, or even if you don't and you just enjoyed the video, make sure you like the video. It helps the video reach new people, and if you haven't seen our channel before, make sure you subscribe. We do all sorts of bikes, and we've got plenty more videos coming this year, and the more of you that subscribe, the better the production quality will get. If you want to help support our channel, make sure you buy a t-shirt from us, or other sort of clothing. We do hoodies and stuff as well. I'm wearing one of our designs, so is the old man. They're displayed in a row below the video, but if you click on one of them and head to the spring store, and if you click the logo on the top of the screen, you can see many more designs on there that won't be in the row below. There's more than that, so make sure you check it out. I don't like insects.